you actually love picking on people, pick on someone, say, why is this guy doing this? Then talk to that guy, like, why is, no?
No, I do only that when I am rubbed the wrong way. And what is this thing of calling them young? Ranbir Kapoor, over 37, he is the young kid of the generation. And Alia Bhatt just turned, but she's running 27. My mother had 3 children at 27. This is absolutely unfair. बच्चे हैं कि dumb हैं कि क्या हैं? If we are asking about your sex life, that you're okay to discuss. Put pictures on Instagram, who I'm fucking, who I'm not fucking, that is fine. But about the country, it's my personal choice.
Hello everyone, welcome to Sit With Hitlist, our unique podcast series which has no questions asked. We just played by the ear. This is the end of the first season, by the way. And the first season had essentially superstars, as it were. Among the female actors that we had Tabu, we had Kajol, we had Rani Mukherjee, and Kangana Ranaut is our latest guest.
I'm very happy to be in this league.
Big league, yes. And I think one of the things, Kangana, that separates you from the ones you've had so far in this so-called first season is, and you've said this before, so I'm going to start with that point, is, well, they're all very successful, and some of them actually been from outside the film industry, as it were. None of them is a rags to riches story.
Yeah.
And you are, and you've said this before, you are the only, among female actors, the only rags to riches story. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think India is a very big, a hodgepodge sort of a land, isn't it? Like, growing up back home in the mountains, I never thought we were any different or we were poor or anything like that, because there's a lot of equality there. Mountains are very different. You will never find a merc, or you will never see something very expensive, but you will not see a beggar either. You will never see anybody poor. So we grew up in an environment which was very neutral. It was only when I came to Mumbai, or a big city like a Delhi or Mumbai, the harsh reality of the world, like there were slums and there were really big 5-star hotels. I would go like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe when I entered. I still remember first time I entered a lobby of a 5-star hotel. I just couldn't believe the kind of, the sort of luxury and the scale of things, grandeur. And the same way the beggars, toddlers are just sort of playing around. Right. So for me it was very unsettling. But then according to that economy, I felt that my parents or they couldn't even sort of afford me to pay rent maybe in a place like Delhi or Mumbai. They could definitely could not support me. Of course, they had their own set of ideas, and they were scared for me because they've heard horrible stories about girls turning into porn stars or things like that, or people sort of misusing them. But along with that, there was the true thing, the matter of fact is that they could have not afforded to pay even 20,000 rent a month for me, or even give me, like, in those days, I don't know now how much it is for a struggler to support herself in a city like Delhi or Mumbai, but 10 years ago I could have even, maybe, sort of made the ends meet in 10, 12, 20,000 rupees or something.
But there's a perception that homes have, which are not from metropolitan cities, often is, there's a show business and it's like this dirty world, and or as you said, like you turn to porn stars. Yeah. And that was what your parents thought of the profession per se? Yes.
And that's something very commonly that happens, and also I had a very I almost fell into a trap like that. I've had similar, everything I was warned against, it happened to me.
Really?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Everything that I think, the fact that people met me and they promised to guide me, to help me, and then I was put on house arrest, and then Pehlaj Nihalani had offered me a film called I Love You Boss or something, and they had a photo shoot. So they gave me a robe to wear, and they didn't give me any undergarments, and they said you can't wear undergarments, and I'm like, okay. So there was this robe, and I had to stick my leg out, and then I'm like, and it was a satin robe, and I'm like, they should give some tapes or something, because every time I'll go like that, and I couldn't pose. So it was basically that showgirl pose, that girl is coming out of the darkness like fully naked, and the theme of the film was something about that I am like a young kid who's lusting over her like a really middle-aged boss or something, like a really that
Palani
soft, yeah, soft phone sort of a character. And I had this epiphany, and I'm like, I can't do this after that shoot. And I felt like I can't do this. This is exactly what my parents were talking about, you know. Even though it didn't feel that bad, because they were, you know, talking about respectable names who will be playing
the
middle-aged man.
Right.
But I just felt very alarmed in that particular photo shoot. So yeah, I could have ended like that. I think it could have ended something very unfortunate for me, and I'm sure it happens to a lot of people. Let's not just glorify the struggle, because a lot of stories die down without even a hint of you know, any hope. But I did struggle. I have had like really horrible time with everything possible, but there's been always that silver lining somewhere for me. But I don't know how many people do find that.
So what happened after the photo shoot? Did you run away? Did you actually go through it?
I went through the photo, then I disappeared. I changed my phone number and I disappeared.
On them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so and around that time I was giving more auditions, and I had given audition for Gangster and Pokeri, which is Puri Jagannath's film, and luckily I got both the films. So I had to actually take that call if I want to do Puri's film or Basu's film. So in that hope I could leave that film, because there was, you know, like how something doesn't happen for the longest time and then how you get 2-3 things together. That was the phase for me. So I chose Gangster, but Pokeri also went on to become a very big
Huge
hit.
hit. What became Wanted later, right?
Yes,
With Salman Khan.
yes. And then I worked with Puri sir again. He met me after Gangster, and he was very happy to see my work. I'd say that I've been very fortunate to be able to, you know, have this sort of, to start with Gangster, it's sort of, you know, it gave me the kind of image I needed. I could have not done what you call in filmy term, I exposed that there were backless scenes. Even in fashion there was, you know, like that was not my concern. Like I am not somebody who will say ki, "Arey ye tang nahi aur ye dikhana," you know, like I'm not that person. But at the same time there is a very strong image around actors, and then it's very difficult to defy that, to break that, and especially when you are just going with what is offered to you. You do not have a set of people who understand that about you, or who would want to help you. So I've been very fortunate that it just set me up, Gangster or fashion, in a good actor zone. Even though I was a bit eccentric, and you know, everyone thought that I can only do edgy characters and only do homeless or druggy character or you know, like eccentric character.
Have, no?
Yeah, but it was better than being a, you know, like a
being like one of many.
Yeah,
you stood out.
Yes,
in that sense.
Yes.
So you do have like these moments where your life's taken a turn for the better, right? Yes. So how long did it take for you to get to the first point, which would be Gangster, of course? 2-3 years? When did you move to Bombay?
I moved to Bombay in 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So that's the same year as Gangster, so not too long.
But I came to Mumbai and I was doing some catalog shoot. I was with Elite Modeling Agency. So it's not a place where you can come and be like, guess what, I'm gonna now get an apartment and stay here. So I was coming back and forth and just doing some auditions and things like that. There is this girl hostel, Asha Chandra girl hostel in, so there were these rooms where...
In Juhu?
In Juhu, yeah.
Right.
Sangeeta apartments. So they were renting actually mattresses and a closet. There was no room to rent. There were 5-6 mattresses and 5-6 closets, and for 5,000 or something. That was the rent in those days. So I got a room like that, and I think sometime 2004 end or beginning, when I got this assurance that I have some job, that's when I stayed back.
Which is when you were modeling?
I was modeling in Delhi, but that same agency sent me to Mumbai to do some catalog shoot, and then I kept going back and forth, and I came back only when I got like a "I love you, boss," or that film was called "I Love You, Boss."
Did it get made? Did you know?
No, he still meets me and he's like, you left that film and I didn't make it with anyone else.
But nothing unsavory, right? Nothing happened on that set or during the photo shoot in terms of a Me Too moment, as it were?
No,
Sure.
not at all. I'll have to say that no, if I have gotten into troubles like that, that only because of myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I think I've been in places where I've pushed the limit, like I've been in situations where I was going through a very dark phase and very destructive phase as well. So I would, I don't know how that works, but being a teenager, I've always made sure that I am in situations that lead to drastic circumstances, like I would, really strange situations. I wouldn't want to sort of open up it like that,
Sure.
but yes, I've exposed myself to all sort of dangers, and yes, I've paid heavy price for that. But that was something more destructive in me than actually someone who's sort of taking advantage of a damsel in distress. I've never been that person. Fortunately or unfortunately, I've never, I was 15 and my father was trying to say something and I'm like, what are you going on about, So I've never been that person. At the age of 15, I could tell that I don't need to take shit from you. So that way I've been quite straightforward. I understand some people cannot be like that, but some people are like that and they cannot be any other way. But did I go through harassment, or did I go through unpleasant circumstances with opposite sex, or situations where were absolutely unpleasant? Yes, plenty of them. Because I've put myself on purpose in those situations. Because I personally felt that I had no way back. And if something doesn't happen, if something good doesn't happen, something absolutely bad should happen, and I should experience something, something experiential should happen, either good or bad.
It's a very teenage thing to do.
Isn't it? I think especially
when
when I was young, I was humiliated by my family, and I didn't feel, I felt a sense of longing that I need to do something, and that lack of faith and trust from my family, it all just brought about in adolescence, it all just brought about a sense of destruction in me. That seemed very relieving. It seemed absolutely gratifying every time I put myself in destructive situations.
But you're doing it automatically, not because you want to be a rebel.
It was more subconscious, and even when I stumbled across a film like A Gangster or something like that, I did not, by that time my hope for a good future was so bleak, was so, I didn't, at that point, maybe I hoped it way before that, but by that time I was so exhausted that it didn't even seem like something good would ever happen to me.
Really?
You can tell that.
You reached that point?
Yes.
You couldn't care less?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Can't you tell from my performance?
No.
I
thought you were playing that character, honestly.
I was 17. I don't think I played a character in those days, because I was 17. I was not a. I mean, of course, I done little bit theatre, so I could take instructions. If you tell me now you cry, so I would, or now you don't. So I would take those many instructions, but at the same time, I was not a seasoned actor who would have a graph like that. But I was actually in that situation in my life that I didn't care anymore.
You were playing yourself?
I think yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's news to me. So, what is really interesting about you, besides that rags to riches story, is the fact that you are perhaps the only person I know from films who is in the movies, but was not even a movie buff. Like, you had nothing to do with movies. You probably didn't grow up on movies in a real sense. Is that odd, though? Like, the fact that you were, like, most people are film buffs. That's why we're all in this field, because we just love the movies. But you actually did not even grow up on the movies.
I actually stumbled upon this profession, and my need to find myself was more spiritual, I feel, and which I am exploring now at this point of time in my life. But before that, I don't think money was a driving factor or motivation, or some sort of fame or this thing, adulation, that you can tell from my choices. I'm not on social media. I can post 10 pictures and get thousands of people to engage with me. That's definitely not my priority. And what is surprising is that I've actually never been a film fan. Even now, when I have to see a film or a series to study, or which I've been asked to do, it'll take me a lot of effort to do it. I will have to really make up my mind, and I will have to really set up situations like that, and have some other kind of perks to it, like I would cook a good meal, have that, a wine to accompany that process. Otherwise, it gets too dry for me.
So you're still not like a like a binge watcher?
No, I'm
or anything of
not.
the sort? Okay.
No, I'm not. I actually find it's a bit of an external feeding sort of a mechanism, like you being fed for so long. I don't like that. So if I'm fed for say 15 minutes, I need to churn out something from within me. So that time limit gets little too
So you
much.
find the process very passive. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's
So
what
you
I try
just
to
take
say.
it.
Yeah, you take it, just
You don't
lying
want to
down.
give back. You don't want to say something. You have to say something, right?
Yeah, I don't I miss the engagement which you can have in, say, in a like when I sit with my friends who do poetry, or like there are these stanzas, they come and then you react to that, and but the film is too much of feeding and without any involvement, and that goes on for too long, like for 2.5 and 3 hours, and by that time you're like, too much has happened with me. So it gets too much, but at the same time there have been gratifying experiences where they're wonderful, but how rare they are, no? So I watch films which are highly recommended. If somebody recommends, and then I have these quietly I see somebody like your review or something, which people you really trust, and then I'll go for that. And when I go for that, and when it is gratifying because I'm so consumed by that very experience and I've surrendered to it in that way, then it's equally gratifying whenever it happens to me.
There are two moments in terms of film watching that come to mind in terms of your life, which have been turning points, and correct me if I'm mistaken. One is the fact that you watched Devdas.
Yeah.
And really blew your mind.
Yeah.
And that you would just keep talking about it when you were in hostel in Chandigarh, if I'm not mistaken. Right? And the second was Black.
Yes.
So both are Sanjay Leela Bhansali.
Yes.
Have you met him since?
Oh yes. In fact, we had a brief meeting for Padmavat. He narrated me the film, and
Oh yeah, he offered
yes,
you the film?
Yes.
No way.
There was this conversation,
Amaze.
and I was doing Manikarnika also around that time. So that conversation didn't go anywhere, but yes, we have had a brief narration. Before that also I've met him, but not for a film. He wanted me to do that Ram Leela song in his film. So I've had that opportunity to know him in person, and he's that kind of filmmaker who can leave very strong impressions on you, and especially if you are that fresh mind, isn't it? I was 13, 14 from my hostel. They took us in Chandigarh, took us to watch this film. Devdas, as a story or as literature, of course, like coming from mountains, I was not even exposed to it. Along with the direction, what I really found is that for the first time that artist in me and that thinker and that somebody who really loves to contemplate had been like severely seduced, So the very ethos of two very tragic loves because of hubris, that because of the two extremely headstrong people, and because their egos always meant much more than, and at that age I was able to identify with that, and I would cry and would think about it and think about life in general, that oh my god, why don't we think about life like that? And of course those amazing grand visuals and the way he depicted it was very poetic. It was not anything I had seen before, so I was definitely deeply moved by it. And then I remember going for Black, and at that time it was one of the things that people were suggesting a lot around me. Even in theatre, people would say, why don't you do films? And I'm like, my god, films must be so different, because everything that you hear about films is that this actor is bad, that actor is bad, they're bad actors, industry is full of bad actors, that's all you hear. So I thought it must be very difficult to act. So I went to see this film Black with my roommate called Kamlesh. She is from Chicago, and she's an elderly lady who's like my mother age, and she wanted to
she's also a struggling actor.
Yeah, she wanted to do like mama's role and things like that.
She moved at what age to Bombay?
52, 53.
To live in the same hostel as you were.
Yes,
Where
and
is
she has
now?
like a mansion in Chicago, and she has limousines, and she wanted to be an actor. She still meets me. She still says that if a role for me comes along, please. I'm like, so that's the charm of being in films. And I remember, so we went to see this film, and Auntie used to really, she used to sometimes take me for these lavish dinners and things like that, and I was this person who definitely appreciated that in those days.
Very much.
Yeah, very much. So she took me for this film Black, and she's like, if we could act like that now, we could also become like that. I said, I can do this. What is the big deal about this? And she's like, my God, look at you. You think you can do what Rani is doing? I said, of course I can do this. So, and then I also verified. I said, so in theatre, we do this in one go. In this case, you have to do it in segments. And if just in case you mess it up, you can do again.
Right.
So she's like, yes, but it is still not that easy. So I'm eating, she took me to Marriott and we had some Chinese food and I'm like, really, it's not that easy. What could be so difficult about it? And what could be maybe something I'm not getting? Because I'd definitely done 1 or 2 plays. So I went to my hostel toilet and there was this small mirror and I tried to do this thing. I said, I can definitely do this. Nobody can say I cannot. So that day I found this confidence that no matter what people say about acting, that I can act. And that's the thing about me. If I do my own experiments and if I pass those, I'm confident no matter what the world says. I mean, everyone's like, in Gangster, they're like, how do you know how to act?
But you're a self-learned actor. I mean, of course, you did some theatre before you moved to Bombay, but it's something that you've taught yourself on your own, right? But you don't watch movies. So how do you teach yourself? I mean, most people will learn because they're watching someone else's craft.
No,
What's the process?
I'm not a self-learned actor. I wouldn't say that. I am definitely somebody who is. I would only call myself somebody who is very eager to learn and very curious and absolutely sincere in what they learn. But am I like a self-learner? No. When I did theatre with Arvind sir, he definitely.
Arvind Gaur.
Yes,
right.
Arvind Gaur. He opened me up. He said that, you're very good at it. But when I came to Anurag, he brought about another dimension and he also said the same thing. He's like, I've met so many people and some of them I've rejected and today are big stars. He's like, but I need to tell you that people, what they feel and they think, they may not able to convey that on their face. But you have this ability that if I ask you to think something, which was his process, that if he has to give me an emotion, he used to ask me to repeat it in my mind and it used to reflect on my face.
Like, give an example.
If say I'm in a car and Imran's character is coming from there, so if you tell me now he's coming from there and you're anxious that what will happen, okay, so I will do my theatre thing. I'll see him coming and be like, what will happen now, what will happen? Maybe I won't say it, what will happen, and he will say, don't do that, just sit still, look at him and say in your mind, like that, like say in your mind what will happen, what will
But you're
happen.
saying it in your head.
Yeah, in your
Right.
head, and he will put a close up and it'll all reflect on my face.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he brought about a different dimension of, so when I do now a film like Manikarnika, I cannot just say it in my head. So there is a theatrical
So
approach.
there's something when we see you on the screen of film like Manikarnika, on any particular scene, it's something you're saying to your head, and that's what we're seeing. Is that what your process is?
No, so when there is a film like Manikarnika, which is more theatrical,
Yes.
so then I have to have more body language, more like, what will happen now? It literally has to be. What
You're
will
actually
happen
saying
now?
it.
Yeah.
What will happen?
And I know, but when I do a film like Queen, it has to be more internal. I cannot be like that. So it's less about body language and more about your internalizing it.
Yeah.
So there are different school of actings. There's the same way you learn a lot with every film. So I won't say I'm self-taught, but at the same time, I grasp everything and then I make my own.
No, I think what I meant by self-taught is not actually going to an acting school, as it were.
Yeah.
Like not formal education in that field.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were studying science.
Yeah.
Why were you studying science?
Because my parents wanted me to study science. Yeah, it was very difficult, especially coming from Hindi medium and then to go into physics, chemistry and organic chemistry and all of that with a different, like a different language, and I couldn't understand. I told my parents I'm not getting it, and they were definitely not amused by it, and they're like, no, this is it now, we have spent way too much money on you, so now you carry on with it. Then I started to bunk and all of that.
What did they want you to be? Like, what did they want you to study and pursue? A doctor, okay.
Yes.
But you're not doing MBBS though. You're doing science. Like
but then what happens in school? You do science.
Oh, you mean?
And then you do PMT.
High school,
yeah,
right?
High school. But I've never been to college.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that was college for you.
No.
Okay.
I was a minor when I started Gangster.
Acha.
Yeah, I was so young.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So well, in that sense, everything you're self-taught. You've not done formal education.
Yes, totally.
Period. Yeah.
And then there came a point where I started to feel painfully incompetent for everything. That like I remember when journalists will sit across to me, and I'm like, like, what do I say? Because there's nothing to say from my end. I don't know. I don't have any education. I didn't have any experience or ambition either. Like, if you can talk about your ambition that I want to be Madhuri Dixit, or I saw this song. I know nothing about songs. I know nothing about actors. I have no education. I remember during Tanu Manu, I used to meet Swara Bhaskar and all, and they're from JNU. They can give you a lecture on communism, or they can go on and on. They can like unleash this history or whatever they have about socio-political background and all of that. I knew nothing. The good thing is then I picked subjects which really excite me. I picked few subjects and I formally, casually, not formally, I pursued those. I started to learn on my own, and then communication became a big problem. I had things that I could understand, and I knew that growing up I can't be this person who doesn't have nothing to talk about. I need to be someone who can engage. It doesn't have to be necessarily one thing, but then different kind of education I to myself, and then I even learned English and all of that. Yeah.
What a fabulous story. I think and I'm going to keep saying self-taught because that's really what it is. Like, you're learning along the way.
Yeah,
I'm sure from people. Doesn't always have to be books. Yeah. And what I find fascinating in terms of your craft, and you mentioned it somewhere, is how when you play a particular character, and I'm sure it's recent, not gangster, because that's when you were learning, is that you give your character a particular adjective and you stick with it. Would that be correct to say? Is that? Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. When a character happens to you, people can get, very confusing that, she's still a person, and to identify a person can have many aspects to her. But if there is one aspect that you can, point out, and you can completely dissolve yourself in that comes across very beautifully on screen, I feel. So this is my very personal style I have developed.
Sure. So what was that one word for Manikarnika, for instance?
For Manikarnika, every time I would be in her saris, or I would stand, I would say something like grace.
Okay.
Or something like mother. Like she's the epitome of mother, like in a very pure way. So I would say mother. So every time I'll say mother, everything would just fall down, everything that I carry as an individual, and whatever would remain would be her. That cannot be applied to every scene.
Sure,
sometimes there are scenes which are absolutely fierce.
Yeah.
But overall her demeanor was of a mother. So even if she was fierce, she was not your like Charlie's Angel fierce. She was a mother fierce. She was desperate fierce. So I think it works for me. I don't know about others.
What is the one word for the character in Queen?
Vulnerable.
Really?
Absolutely vulnerable. That character was actually very easy to tap into, and I feel being a very confident person, and being an overtly confident person, actually, Vikas would say about me that she's not underconfident, she's overconfident. So my father also thinks the same about me. So
we all feel the same, by the way.
Yeah, so I agree. So, but what really always excited me to find these people who don't look into your eyes, and who will always look away, or who will feel absolutely unsure of themselves, and they feel so vulnerable, even if nobody's looking at them, even if they're in a corner, they're just feeling that on them by themselves, and nobody is noticing. So it made me very, very inquisitive about them, and when this character happened, and I'm like, I would like to go into that zone, and I had a lot of fun thinking, and to be somebody else, and to identify them, and to feel what it is like to be them. It's the most amazing.
And you actually worked on the writing process of that film.
Yeah.
Like, you actually crafted that character.
Yeah. So for me, when I was not getting good work, like I was doing films like Rascal and Double Dhamal. I mean, I'm sure people will feel bad that I take these films' name, but I was definitely misplaced in those films. I felt that even though this is again, like, that's self-teaching, even though I understand acting and all of that, but there is so much that I don't understand. So I sponsored my education and I went to New York and I learned screenwriting. I could have chosen to learn anything, but I learned screenwriting because that was one thing that always mesmerized me. It's not that you're an actor, so a writer comes to you and narrates you these beautiful scenes and verses and acts, and then there's no pre-climax start. But for these 15 minutes of climax, it's not that you're like, oh yeah, sure, I know. No, as an actor, you feel like, where is this coming from? How does this person know all of this? You always feel like that, and I felt so many, and writer friends I befriended, and I would ask, how do you know this is need to happen right now? But obviously, when you're not a writer, they don't talk to you in that language. They simply tell you because it should happen right now, So I was very curious, and I'm like, this needs to be sorted out because I understand how direction happens, and music, so far no interest, but writing was something I was very curious about. And then I went to New York Film Academy, and then this was happening, Queen was happening, and Vikas at that time was this very open person who was a very unusual director, like we would construct so many scenes on the set, and not just me, a lot of people were collaborating, ADs, and there were amazing things were happening there only because he was very open as a person, first time directors, and he felt, and I think that's the best way to be. When I am directing, that's what I do. He used to be this person who felt that everyone else on the sets knows more than me. That is a good place to be in for a director. And I felt very confident, and I felt like I can also do. If everyone's writing, I can also write. So I also gave a lot of inputs in Queen, like that breakup scene in the cafeteria is something that I've suggested. That Italian kissing scene is something that I have suggested. There were a lot of situations that I had suggested, and he was like, oh wow, this is great. I'm like, really, you've accepted it? He's like, yes. And then when I saw the film finally, it gave me a lot of confidence that okay, fine, this is happening.
I mean, you should be glad that Queen happened, right? Because before that, you were almost like quitting films as an actor, which is why you left to the US to study direction.
Yes.
You made a short film too.
Yeah. It was definitely an end of my career. It was over.
Yeah.
Everything was over.
It was
here.
over, huh?
Yeah. And I was doing films which would further harm me. Like 10 minutes role or something like that, or a film of an unknown person, a politician's son, and all of that. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I remember your call as well.
So all of that just to get money I can, and sponsor my education in the US.
But you were getting paid well though.
Yes, that's the thing about
money.
films. That's the things about films, especially if politician's son come along, and so you can do what you like. So very grateful to this profession for that. I mean, there have been few times where I felt that I should be more grateful, like my sister's treatment when I could afford that because of this profession. Today, if you see so many acid attack survivors, Rangoli had 90% burns, but if she could have, she's gone through some 54 surgeries. Today, if she looks normal, is only because of we could afford it, and that's because of my profession. My education, whether it is screenwriting or I could make that short film in California, it's because of this profession. So that way it is.
Have you shown your short film anywhere?
Yeah, I've shown it to few people.
Okay.
But
is it there on the internet? No.
No, it's not there on the internet because it was the prologue for a script, which was being directed by me, and it's a script which an Australian writer had written. So that project was being set up in America, and on a very small level. A bit of a theme of that film lies in that prologue. Sure. So we can't possibly release it. The idea of that prologue was for me to do an exercise to show to investors and to, it was.
So is it a complete film by itself, or that something larger is going to happen after this?
No, it's a 9-minute film, but the script is for 2 hours. So the script, the main protagonist, we assumed
so it's like a 9-minute trailer of a 2-hour
No, not
film.
really a trailer,
No?
because that would have been very expensive. Just assuming that the hero of that film had some superpowers. So, but it's not a superhero film, but had some powers. And then making a little bit of prologue with a kid with the same power and how it affects his surroundings. So that's what we've done to show it to investors and all of that.
Right.
And it turned out good, but just around that time Queen came along, because in that profession also you had to struggle. It's not that things were,
sure, you start from scratch again,
isn't it? Like for me, it's not that koi aaya aur film bana li. So that also was a process, and I felt here's a process that I've done for 8 years. Somehow accidentally it has borne fruits, so I should definitely now again starting to struggle. Then I left it there, but that all of that is still. Yeah.
But that's something you want to pursue, right? I mean, direction is something you take seriously as a.
Yeah.
I mean, you have directed Manikarnika.
Yeah. That happened accidentally, and before that, I tried to make a project where I can involve myself a little more than that, but it didn't go through because, like I said, I definitely missing that very essential infrastructure that you need. And also I think if you see in the past also, if directors have made it, even the big directors have made it, it's always that किसी बड़े हीरो ने तुमको बच्चा समझ के mentor किया, isn't it? Like even if for a guest appearance they have mentored you like that, that's how they have made it. And I am not very comfortable with that sort of scenario where I have to, I don't know, being a woman makes it, a lot of women directors feel that way, isn't that, when you are with your boys gang, wearing your caps and having a beer, a lot of even $1 million deals get cracked up, but when you're a girl, it gets very difficult to fit yourself in that environment, because as you enter such a situation, everybody gets really uptight and be like, oh, okay, now is a lady here, so somehow things don't, I don't know if they get pally with them, that's how they mentor them, or some of them are terrible actors also. No, it's not that they don't want to do my script, but they don't even like.
But are you shopping around? I mean, are you taking it to people? Do you have a script that you're showing to people right now?
No, I mean there are a lot of there are some actors who showed interest.
Okay, so you have something in place, which is the same prologue.
No, not that one. That is an American story. It was a bit inspired by Christ. That will not work here. It was that was for American market.
What do you have right now?
Right now, I have a couple of ideas.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Like proper ideas in terms of on paper?
Yeah, there is one film that is a female protagonist, which somebody is talking to me about. They've got the rights for that, and they have the script. I can direct and act in it. But what I want to do is actually, it's about a male protagonist. I'm looking to make that, because I feel when you act and direct, there is a lot of compromise on many levels. I can take 2 years off, and I just want to direct, and as a director just let all of myself be there, and then see where I stand, because I'm not able to see so far.
But that's usually everyone's, I mean not everyone's, but a lot of people's plan B. When it doesn't work out, at some point when you won't be as saleable as an actor, then you become a director or filmmaker or producer. But you're pretty much at the top of your game right now, no?
No, I don't think like that. No. I definitely, I feel that if we don't have good directors in this country, is only because of this attitude that they're not valued. They definitely are unsung heroes. Today, if we talk about directors, who are the directors that we...
You tell me, who do you like? Outside of Sanjay Leela Bhansali. It's really not Karan Johar.
See, that's what I'm saying, that no, but you tell me that, is there a director that after doing the kind of work I have done, if I have to be in that same circle, keep running around the same circle, then of course I can go on and on and on. But if I have to up my game, who is it that I can work with? Hardly anyone. Like let's be honest about it. There's hardly anyone who is going to up my game. Not going to take me in circles and circles. We do not have directors. If we need anything, we have a lot of talent. We don't have good directors. So for me, it is right now I feel this is one issue that we can address, that we should value technicians more, we should value directors and writers more, so that more and more youth starts to find these jobs aspirational, rather than making them these unsung heroes and underpaid people. And especially the kind of work is coming out of the industry now with young director and young talent and all of that. We should encourage people, and we should make them mainstream heroes, like how West treats them. For me, like Christopher Nolan is a very big star, right? Like I would want to be like him. So I don't look down upon this job, and I don't think my popularity will go down in any way. No, and also I don't even enjoy the things that people being actors, like I said, unnecessary attention, or wanting to dance in weddings, or wanting to do fairness creams. I anyway do not do any of that. What I like about my profession is that to be able to communicate and to be able to, through an idea or through a thought, to be able to live in millions of them. Like if a certain story is in me, and when it is watched by millions of people, it becomes a part of them. It is like living through them. It is very spiritual in its nature. So that is what excites me. And being a director, that it gives you exactly that. So that's why I want to be a director. And I don't think that calculatively that, oh, my popularity will come down or anything. And you never know, maybe my popularity will rise, maybe it won't. But I always listen to my heart. I go where my heart takes me.
Speaking of spirituality, you took a 10-day break.
Yeah.
You haven't spoken a word for 10 days.
Yeah.
And you're here. How was that experience?
Very difficult, but I think...
Why did you take that break in the first place? Like, why did you need to do it?
I was kind of harrowed during this whole Manikarnika, experience. First, my director just left, abandoned the project, and then all of this came onto me in such a force. Like, I was wanting to do direction, and I could have, but it didn't have to come like tsunami. It didn't have to be like on a gunpoint. That was too much pressure on me, and also to be directing in this situation where to going to everyone and convincing them, because everyone's feeling unsure. It was too much that it had taken from me. When the film finally came out good, and people started to love it, there was so much negativity from that backlog. It just all came out and be like, all of that. So it was very unsettling for me to be dealing with that, and I needed to and I felt the most uncomfortable thing for me in life is that I'm not somebody who feels wronged or who feels like a sense of it. It makes me lose my confidence. Like, I thrive on my confidence. I'm somebody who doesn't know how to function without that. That's the fuel of my personality. And when I feel wronged and I feel like I was being taken for a ride, I feel like this meek person who's like being taken for a ride. So I felt like that. I felt like, what is this? These people are all together bullying me. Then did you see that horse episode? That this mockery. It's just that a girl has pulled off this dance for the first time, and there's this whole system working against and openly, and I felt like, oh my God, I'm just a tiny fragment in the scheme of a system. I felt so small and so weak, and after doing what I've done, and after achieving what I've achieved, and the need for that even clarification, and I'm like, I've got to get out of here.
Sure.
I need to get out of here right now before they crush my spirit, they crush my confidence, and the fear of what I'm seeing, that even if you see, for me, like, will I ever get through this was the biggest question. Like for me, this was do or die situation where you've taken such a big thing, and you're like, I'm not going to let anyone ruin it for me. I'll fix it, and you're like, hey, I did it, and that's where it all starts to go wrong. So this fear will always be in your head, that every time you'll start to do things, and you'll be like, and what is the point where you feel it's done? What is that point? You would never know. So I felt like it was scarring me. It was taking my ability of wanting to make movies away. It was taking my ability of that thing where you rise as a phoenix every time from ashes, that big dream of rising away. So I felt absolutely horrible, and I'm very spiritual, and I've been doing a lot of things in the ashram in Coimbatore with Sadhguru, and this was happening. And I said, this is exactly what I need. But I didn't expect it to be so.
But it's very odd in your case, because the sense one gets, and especially like following your public life, as it were, is you almost thrive on it. Like, you actually love, picking on people, pick on someone, say, why is this guy doing this? Then talk to that guy, like, why is... No,
I do only that when I am rubbed the wrong way.
When you are rubbed the wrong way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I obviously don't have time to go around and to pick on people who's doing what. That is very time consuming. And also, if you see me, I'm not a judgmental person. I am very easygoing as a person, and And that is precisely why I'm in my own world and I'm able to do what I'm able to do, because it needs certain amount of dispassion for society and what is happening in the social structure. I'm not a gossipy person, I don't care. I can actually make a lot of, like you said, worldly things happen if I entertain these people and who are dying to be, their egos be pampered by me. But I really do not care what goes on and how this whole business of cinema works, by clinging on to whom and pampering whom and all of that. So I'm completely away from all of that. But when somebody on purpose bullies me or tries to be nasty, then of course, then I have my own way of putting them in their own place, and I do that very well.
Because before coming for this interview, I typed your name and I typed interview on Google, and I think the second thing that showed up, 34 controversial moments from Kangana's life. I mean, that's the second thing that shows up as an interview. Clearly, you rattle people up a certain way, and it's always because someone else rubbed you the wrong way.
Yes. Always. You cannot come up with, out of those 34 controversies, if you come up with one that haven't been about people. Yes, maybe you haven't seen it openly in public, because sometimes people have the way of going little behind and hitting you. Yes, but I always retaliated openly. For example, that silly ex, I said it first, but the way he was harassing me for 2 years. Understand? So people are like, oh, where did that come from? But I know where it comes from. I want everyone to know what is happening with me. So it has always been out of retaliation to something which people have been either secretly harassing me or bullying me or openly bullying me.
Can I give you an example?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think it was a Manikarnika success party that you were having at your home, and you picked on Ranbir Kapoor for the fact that he does not comment on stuff which is political. I mean, he feels he's privileged, that he has no business, telling people what they should do in life. He didn't rub you the wrong way.
Of course he did.
How?
Of course. He said, I live in luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, I live
He
in
was
luxury.
talking about himself.
No, but I have nothing to do with the rest of the India. But see, this is the thing about people who feel absolutely exclusive. People who feel that they have no sense of inclusion. This is the kind of attitude. What do you think? This Karan Johar and gang, this is the kind of attitude they thrive on. No, seriously, and a lot of negative PR about me has been happening from these people. And I know them. Maybe you don't know, but I know who give these news out about my negative PR. So I know that's why whenever I do something, it is to put them in their place, because this kind of attitude that, see, I am me and you are you, is where this whole nepotism or outsider and this thing is coming from. Because they live in this absolutely, like feeling superior to others, and we need to question that. And the fact that I also know who had released the horse video. If I tell you the name, you will be shocked, but I know.
Go for it.
I'll tell you after this. Maybe the name that you would ask for now.
Okay, so
see, there are a lot of politics in the industry, people who are very uncomfortable with me coming up, and also whether it's Tanu Manu or whether it is Manikarnika. It's not only actresses' spot that I am questioning or I am trying to get to. These are the figures which no female-centric films have seen before. Like Tanu Manu is in a zone which is ahead of many male heroes, highest grossers, And Manikarnika, people are saying, I'm not saying it, people are saying that no hero has ever done action like this. So it is frightening many people. It is making them feel that hamari bhi period film aayegi, then will we be compared? So what do you think? It is as simple as that? If in your business it is not as simple as that in journalism, then in my business how can it be as simple as what it looks like?
But but could you also be suffering from some element of a persecution complex where you feel like everyone's out there to get you? Could that be a thought in your head a lot of the times? Is that possible as an idea, as a thought?
Well, I think if anybody who suffers from that complex is somebody who will definitely live in a lot of pain and suffering. But when you are these are the kind of people who maybe fall for, I think, I don't know, but they definitely are somebody who will deal with a lot of complexities. Like you said, everyone's out to get me. But when you are out to get everyone,
You are out to get everyone.
Obviously, you can't be suffering from that complex.
Sure.
Because your complex is that I am out to get everyone who's trying to mess with me. So it's opposite of that.
Sure. There was a larger point that you were trying to make with that Ranbir Kapoor.
I also spoke about other stars.
Sure. No, I'm it's not about Ranbir Kapoor. I think it's the larger idea about where someone, when they don't feel qualified to comment on something, where they feel that they may not want to go public with it. They may have their viewpoints. Every human being has a viewpoint. They may not want to go public with it. Isn't it okay? Like, why does that person have to be at gunpoint to say something about everything that's happening in the world? Do we not owe it to the society that we pay taxes and we do our work really well? Is that not good enough?
No, what happens, what happens that, see, society, how does society function? Now, let's talk about it. This cannot be spoken superficially, right?
No, not at all,
see,
not at all.
Can you and I applaud for ourselves? No. You are somebody who does a job of writing. I'm somebody who acts, but there is somebody who's actively farming for us, and that is what we are eating. And we are, somebody is actively making breeze. You are hiring these people to work for you, but you can't possibly educate them from day one. But these people in the social structure who are sitting there and doing things in a sort of give and take. Well, let's not talk about money. Yeah, of course, a teacher gets paid, but so we are. But we are what a farmer does for us, we cannot ever pay them in sort of money. And it's not that ke chalo theek hai farming hi to karni hum to, we could never possibly do what they do for us. So what happens is, when you talk about a celebrity, what is a celebrity? A celebrity, I don't know the dictionary origin and all of that, is somebody who is a celebrated being, somebody who reflects what the masses, and maybe they don't even know what is good for them. The responsibility lies on them to reflect the psyche of the masses. What do masses want, hence going forward, and they should be addressing the concern. If we are talking about a collective development of a community, of a nation, if we are just talking about capitalism, it's a different thing. Of course, it's a different thing, that you do your thing and I'm doing my thing. We will be good to talk like that maybe 50 years down the line, when we are not the highest number of malnutrition in the world. But right now, where we are, if somebody talks like that, they should be condemned. So what I feel, it might be too ideal a world.
Sure.
It is too ideal a
That's
world.
What you feel,
but you cannot completely say that I don't have a point. I have a point. And do I only talk the talk and not walk the walk? Then you'd ask me. No, I talk the talk and I walk the walk also. So when you're talking about a celebrity is somebody who cannot go out there. I am very busy with my life these days, so I can't talk about the country. And so what is country's life? If a bomb drops on your house, so that is a bomb on the country and on you idiot. It is on everyone. So the thing is that this sort of disassociation, okay, I live a very luxurious life and I can't talk about the country, but India is my life. Invariably, whether I like it or not, it is my life. If I like it, good for me. If I don't like it, anyway, it is my life. Now, what is happening with Indian borders is, I have a house in Manali. I don't want to be Chinese. I should be concerned, isn't it? I'm so close to China.
Not really. Manali is not that close to China. Not really. Or
it is.
You're not going to be invaded by Chinese.
So that's what I'm saying, that everything that happens in the country, I should be concerned with it. And if I'm not, then I am a fool. Then we as a society, we need to decide that these idiots should be our role models or not. What we get what we deserve. So we need to talk about it. See, they can make as much money they want. That's not the problem. If they do good films, if they're doing business. It does come back to the country though. What they make, third of that comes to the country. Whatever they do. That's what we owe as debt to society. No, so right? See, so it's not like just because you don't mention these things that you don't care. No, but then there are a lot of examples. Like, would you like Trump might be the richest person, in this thing. But again, like there are conflicts. It's not just about money. You can't just feed society money and be like, oh, okay, fine. Now this is my responsibility for society. Even if you have no money. Even if today, if say somebody whose mother has got cancer, who can take her to America and you can do all kind of treatments, and here's a poor person who can only offer water. So I'm not saying that you have to have all the entire knowledge of the country and politics, but you show your concern. you show, you're even offering that water, you think that's not good
So
enough?
basically what you're saying is if you're a celebrity, a public figure that people are following, then you owe it to the public that you show concern because they're celebrating you. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. You justify your position.
Sure.
Why are you a celebrated being?
Because you
Why?
make great films. How about that? That you make really good superhero movie that everyone loves.
Like? Which great
I
film?
mean, let's say, I don't mean
like,
any
tell
particular
me.
person.
No, but tell
you
me
know
the
what I'm
kind
talking
of
about.
trash the industry is generally generating, which is making the biggest money. They should definitely owe to these public. How will they give back? Because they are fooling them also, looting their money also, and not showing any high moral standards also. So everything is 0, 0, 0, 0.
I'm sorry.
Which films? Which great films you've seen? Huh?
Like, why do you make it seem like everything is shit, yeah? There are some really good films. One, you don't watch too many films.
No, I
So,
do.
yeah.
But see, there are okay film here and there. That's fine, but it's not that you can only say through films. Yes, you can, but at the same time, you should know, especially when the country is in a sensitive situation like that, on the threshold of a great possibility, you should definitely have a say in things and be like, this is how it should be, whether it is pro-government, anti-government, whatever it is.
Sure, that's a
And-
viewpoint,
and-
right? And he's allowed his viewpoint too.
Which is, I
You may not agree with it, but that's what he feels.
that
And you should
I'm
be
a
okay with that
privileged,
too.
I'm a
Yeah, that he
privileged
feels
person. No,
privileged and
it's
it doesn't.
not. It's not okay. It's not okay.
You're not okay with it. That's fine too, right?
It's not. It's not. It's definitely not okay, and it is embarrassing for any youth to talk like that. And imagine, look at the selfishness quotient in this that, why should I care? I have electricity. Is this how? If we start to feel, then again there are so many things that are happening in the country. Then why does a soldier goes to the border? Why should they care? He's also a son. He is also flesh and blood. How can such a way of life be propagated? That too so shamelessly. So that is not okay. It shouldn't be okay with anyone.
You were talking about talent in the creative industry. I think the talent that we have in politics is even worse. Right? Let's all be fair. We don't have the world's best politicians. In fact, the world doesn't have great politicians to begin with. And when they see someone like you, who is brutal with the points you want to make, very clear-headed, and some of these points are actually what would come in the domain of partisan politics, right? Because there are two viewpoints and you take one side. Have you been approached by a political party to join them?
No.
No, seriously?
No.
Like not even a feeler?
No.
Would you be interested?
No, of course not.
Why not? We must do something for the country, no?
I am doing something
Yeah.
for the country. And also the idea that politicians are supposed to be authors and thinkers and mystics and actors, it's not true. Politicians are just doers. We are the ones, and good we are the ones who are the drive. That's why celebrity should have a point. We should only to be criticizing a current government is only on the basis of just because there is no acceptance. See, it's a democratic process. Whoever the leader has been chosen is because we have chosen them, and not to acknowledge that. Like, for example, this is the problem, because why today people don't like Narendra Modi is because he's from a poor family. He's a chaiwala, so there is absolutely no respect for him. But
why assume that? That's not true. I mean, Manmohan Singh was from a
for
very,
me,
very
like
poor family.
I just that's what I feel. Like, let me give you
Sure.
my opinion, because
Sure.
that's the kind of prejudice I faced. Like, we just do not acknowledge this. Well, he is the leader of the country for this chosen government, and however, whatever the term is, you choose, you say what you want to be done. And if you don't say it, and if you say, oh, because I have had enough this year, I got married and I have 2 hit films and I have this and I have that, I have no viewpoint, then don't cry about it. You've got to say what you want, and if that doesn't happen, then there is something that we should talk about it. But you don't say, you have no idea, have no clue, just because 5 people were talking, you were like, must be true, then I also think that. No, you've got to understand. You've got to understand where we live, what is the scenario, what are the situations that we're dealing with, and have responsibility. And what is this thing of calling them young? Ranbir Kapoor was 37. He is the young kid of the generation. Like, my father was a middle-aged man in that time. And Alia Bhatt just turned, she's running 27. 27, I was writing dialogues for Queen.
They're not in this room. It's unfair to talk about that.
No, but what is this young thing? उनको नहीं पता, वो बच्चे हैं. Oh, कौन से बच्चे? My mother had 3 children at 27. This is absolutely unfair. बच्चे हैं कि डम हैं कि क्या हैं? See, this is you can't get away with this. At this age, at this stage, you should know. And I'm not saying that there's some 12, 13-year-old and you're putting mic in before their mouths and be like, talk, you have to talk. No. If they can pay, they can be the highest taxpayers in the country. Why can't they care about this country? You know, there are so many situations. There are farmers who are dying. There are borders with their military that is in problem. There are things that are happening. How can we sit in our houses and be like, no, just twiddle with our thumbs? What is this? This is wrong.
This is not wrong. It's perfectly fine for someone not to publicly comment on an issue if they don't want to. It's their privilege. It's something that you want to. That's fine too.
No, see again. I agree. If we are asking about your sex life, that you're okay to discuss, which you should have your personal agenda. No, that you're okay to discuss. Put pictures on Instagram. Who I'm not. That is fine. But about the country, it's my personal choice. You don't even understand and identify and differentiate between which is personal, which is not personal. I think it is the most. Everybody asks me, so आजकल किसके साथ चल रहा है? अरे तुमको क्यों बताऊं? You ask me the questions which are not personal. Here उल्टा होता है यहाँ पे. Whichever is personal, they're okay to flash that. Okay, and which is not personal. Everything about the country, how can you say it's my personal wish? It's not your personal wish. It is a collective wish.
It's your wish not to be on social media, right?
No.
I mean, how about we tell you
that is a
but
personal,
you must be on social media and you
thing.
must talk about country
so
and soldiers.
आप मेरे को बताइए इजराइल में जब सबको आर्मी में भेजते हैं, is it a personal wish?
No, that's different.
So that is the situation of the country.
Maybe we don't agree with that. As a country, maybe we don't agree with conscription.
But कल को अगर दिक्कत आएगी, कल को सिचुएशन होगी, agree or not agree, जाना ही पड़ेगा. Agree हो चाहे नहीं agree हो, जाना ही पड़ेगा. So everything about the country is in a collective domain. ये collective consciousness है, it has to collectively rise. You cannot personalize it. Every question, चाहे वो farmer पे हो, चाहे वो bomb blast पे हो, चाहे वो women rights पे हो, या चाहे वो human rights पे हो, is a question about the country. Who you are having sex with is not the question about the country. Social media is not the question about the country. You want to be on social media, it's not the question about collective well-being of the country. That you decide you want to choose or not give. And all of this है कि अभी बच्चे हैं ये वो please वो नहीं होने वाला अभी कोई 37 कोई 38 कोई कुछ that's very wrong.
Kangana,
you give them too much consideration.
No, how? So you expected me to ask Ranbir Kapoor to leave the room? That's what you said. Why did you ask me to leave? Are you kidding me? Like he has a.
That is why you called me.
No.
That is why you called me to give it back to me.
No, that's not true. I'm saying it's the way you think about something. No, not true. You know it's not true. I mean, it's perfectly fair.
And I thought you want to talk to me.
That we did, right? We did, no?
But I personally feel that like I said, like too much, like Gen Next. कौन सी Gen Next? कुछ तो हद करो यार, 40 के होने वाला 2-3 साल में Gen Next.
But what did you say? Are you joining politics or not?
मेरे को क्या करना है politics में यार? I have to. There are so many things that I want to say as a creative person. Let's see first how that goes. But in terms of politics, I really do not know what do politicians do. I really do not know anything about this job, so I don't know how I will how I can make a difference. But like I said, I'm all game for everything. But to me, like I want to make a difference through movies and through a person who is who is, like I said, politicians are not supposed to be mystics and thinkers or authors or journalists. They're not supposed to. They're just doers. But they will get a collective sense from the country. This is what his country or these leading minds of the country are wanting from us right now. That's where we need to guide them. That's what I feel. As a person, that's what I feel, and that's why I'm very intrigued by all the great minds around. And I feel we collectively need to carve a path for them, for politicians to follow, and then what politician will want, army will follow, and what army will want. That's how it will go on. But we can't say that we are insignificant in the scheme of things. So that's what I'm thinking, and definitely not very young.
Question.
Here's a scenario that I'm giving you. Let me know how you're going to react. Say 20 years down the line, your child tells you that he wants to be an actor or a director. Are you going to pick up the phone or say a director
Very
friend
good question.
and say, hey, my child wants to be an actor. why don't you let him be on the set and let him learn the ropes of filmmaking? Are you going to do that or you're not going to do that?
Well, see, if I do that, the possibility of him being a good director will become 50%. Okay, if I really care for him and if I'm really a good mother, I would let him find his own way, because to make a good director a good living, so he can make out of anything, anywhere, you know. But if I want him to be an extraordinary person, I will throw him in the sea. Either he will drown or he will make it. That is what, if I want to create an exceptional human being, an extraordinary human being can only be created like that. There is absolutely no, I'm sorry to break it to you, but there is no other way. My brother is struggling to be a pilot for past 4 years. He's looking for a job. I can make a phone call and make that happen, but I would not. I never will, because getting him that job doesn't mean anything to me. But to see a great human rise out of that struggle every day, that rejection, that sort of despair, that hopelessness, is what I really love to see my brother as. So for him, there are plenty of options. Farming is also one. We have a lot of land back home. That's how I choose to see life. Life for me is not check or money or just badges that we wear. He's become a director, he's become a pilot, he's become a doctor. That's not how life works. Do you want to make pilots or farmers, or do you want to make great humans? You've got to take that call.
What was the first day on the set of Panga like? Because it was a very bad time for you. You were clearly very intimidated. How did you face the whole first day?
Like I said, I was being bullied with that horse and everything, and that.
You're obsessed with the horse, though. It doesn't matter.
It was pretty ridiculous.
It was pretty ridiculous, and all kind of nasty jokes. But there is something actually quite endearing about the whole environment on sets. It is so inviting, the way they create the entire world. One has to be absolutely insensitive and full of oneself not to be able to respond to that. And every set is very peculiar. When you enter it, it's just sort of literally, if you're not into it, it's like a slap on your face. So that's the thing about sets, that with a lot of care and with a lot of detail, it is brought about. And those costumes and those dialogues, they're very inviting. It takes very little. It takes some effort to let go of your own misery and be like, oh, I have to be here, and then you actually like, and it's nice. I mean, I've heard a lot of actors to say, oh, whatever happens, I just put my head into work, and I could never understand that, because I'm not somebody who will see this as some sort of rescue, because I really would want to be my 100%. But that actually seemed like the most sane thing to do, because when so many things help you, so many people help you to break away from your own thing.
Your over involvement, as they say, so in films like after Manikarnika, it so happened that it came out that you were involved in the posters of Mentalekya, or probably you were giving a tough time to Ashwini. We've heard a lot of things. Does that affect the working relationship? Does that kind of take a toll on you? I mean, does that? Do you feel this is something which comes out?
I think with the new director, yes, it is something which is strange, that somebody would come and snatch your lines and take your microphone without reaction. It's a bit.
What do you mean?
He's saying that these rumors that they,
that's the rumor, right?
That's the rumors, sure. It must be so unsettling for a new director to be, okay, what will she do, So these rumors are absolutely nasty, that, you want to paint the posters and you want to direct on sets. But when you worked with people, they absolutely understand. Then there's no awkwardness. But starting with, like whatever was happening with Manikarnika, and when I was not working with Ashwini and we were just starting work, there was a lot of I won't say, like, she's somebody who's got very good behavior in terms of like a person who's very good with people and a good judge of people. So she was very positive, and I was at a space where Manikarnika meant a lot to me, and finishing that and completing that was, and I've left 2-3 films also, I've left Imli also, I've left many films. So if Panga would have gone around that time, I would have not cared much. Ashwini had a lot of faith that she will be able to do it with me, but I didn't go around and explain myself that, hey, I will not interfere, or I will let you direct, and I'm actually not dying to do things that I'm not paid for. But she was very.
You weren't paid extra for being the director?
I volunteered for that job.
Sure.
That was a film.
I think what he's trying to get at is, do you, because of the stories that get generated, one, do you feel like you're a star in your own reality TV show? Because that's what it comes across as. Second, do you intimidate people before they actually know you? When you, like for instance, Ashwini or anyone else that you work with, do you intimidate them because that's what they've heard of you until they've met you, of course?
Well, if they're intimidated, then only they can answer if they're intimidated or not.
Do you feel so though?
How do I don't judge people. I don't be like, oh, maybe this person is intimidated or this person is happy. No, I don't feel like that way. But do I feel like I don't think there's nothing called over involvement. You can get as involved as you want to, but you make sure that others are not uncomfortable with it, and that's how work happens, and that's how things are done, because there's so many people involved, and you've got to make sure that others are comfortable as well. But if you can get as involved as you want.
So I remember this chat I had with your producer Kamal Jain, where he had said that there's a profit sharing arrangement with you. On my
Okay, Kamal ji never told me about it.
Because now you're clearly getting into direction. You will at some point direct Teju. You have a project with Mr. Vijayendra Prasad. So is that something that you're looking at as a model to explore?
Money doesn't motivate me a lot in life to do things. I mean, I like to do basic things with money, and post that, it's not my agenda. But what I really want is to be driven by a project to a certain madness, where I don't remember anything. I want to be involved when I direct, and I have something like that, and I hope I get the right casting and it sort of materializes. So that is what drives me. Everyone has a driving force. So all these things doesn't occur to me ki kya business, kya nahi. But I am very happy with taking my fees and just moving on. Even as a director, I would like to keep that format. But if a certain film demands that sort of profit sharing where I can't be paid, but the film needs to be made, then yes, why not? There are films like that, which are like that.
So production is something that you're actively looking at the moment?
Well, production is something that I might have to get into reluctantly, because I feel and I felt, as an actor, especially the kind of actor I am, I get a lot of freedom on sets, like I can do my lines the way I want to, I can act the way I want to. But being a director, I remember there were so many things that people tried to do with my film. Like CEOs and things like that, they tried to edit my film behind my back, and apparently they could do anything with it, whether they're my sets or anything that I demand or I ask for. It will actually have 10 other people say, or my scenes will be questioned, or my dialogues will be questioned. Everything that a director does is questioned by these people who have never directed, by people who've absolutely no experience of filmmaking, and because they're in these positions and they can. So because we had no time, so everyone's like, okay, fine, go ahead. And I was more like a situation, okay. But I'm like, if we had time, they would not let these things pass. They would just make sure that it doesn't happen. There's so many things in my film that have just gone there because people didn't have time to be like, so I can't be in a situation like that. I have absolutely no interest in explaining anyone that why something, and especially when somebody is coming from a space, and I feel as an actor and as a creative person that I come from a place which is not borrowed, because I've never seen films. So it seems a bit off initially. It seems a bit, like a path which is not walked on. It seems very raw edged, and it seems unconventional. But that doesn't mean you discard it. You just discarded something which has never happened before. So what I've gathered is a producer can only conceive or perceive precisely because they've been cinema buffs and fans, only because they are fans of. If anything you show them which they are fans of, they will immediately okay it. But anything which has never happened before, and because it is so original in its core, they have no perception to perceive it. So in that scenario, I think I might have to produce, which I would hate to, because all that baniyagiri I hate to do. And if I have to sit across the table and do kisne kitna khaya, kitna plate gaya, kisne kya order kiya, it will be मेरा फिर वो भी नहीं आएगा जो एक अनकन्वेंशनल है. I will also, I don't know how I will manage, but I will do something.
आप सोशल मीडिया पे नहीं है, क्यों नहीं है? और दूसरा क्वेश्चन है कि Terrorist 103 कब तक आएगी?
Well, Anandji is making some other film right now. I think he's starting another film. So maybe after that, he and I spoke about it. But then I think he also is somebody who spontaneously goes with the script that is coming out of his sort of team or process or creative team. But yeah, that will happen post that, hopefully. And why I'm not on social media is because social media is very consuming, like, and I like to be involved in everything that I do. It is so consuming that my very need to live in people and live and say something and live through them is very spiritual. But when I communicate with people, it just dies down. I don't have any need anymore. I don't know how to say. I think social media in itself is quite satisfying. For example, if I have a story to tell, I can say it in 5 scenes. But if I write 2 lines of poetry, it will be the same thing. So I feel that if I'm on social media, I'll be writing poetry, I'll be constantly giving my opinions, posting pictures, and contemplating and actually writing things that I always want to say through cinema. And there will be nothing left for me to say to people.
Interesting. You're conserving yourself for films.
Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes I give a good interview and I feel like for 7 days there's nothing to do, not even to check social media. So that very need to communicate dies down. And because I'm so good with communication, I feel I'm very good with communication. I'm good with photography. I'm good with poetry. And
Do you write poetry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I write poetry, and I, like so many dialogues, I write which, do well only because I've not communicated those things. And I don't know how people keep themselves full with creative juices when they're engaging with millions of people. Either they're fake there, or they save themselves. How they draw the line, how they don't get enamored and by people and the wonderful lives and beautiful communication. Because I find it absolutely consuming, and I'm happy that but there will be a time, I'm sure there will be a time where I will not see it like that. But then either films will be there or social media, both cannot be there.
Kangana, thank you so much. Keep talking, keep walking. This was fascinating, really, always fascinating. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Kangana Ranaut. Stay tuned for my interview on Sit With Hitlist. Grab your midday copy now.